For those of you I may not know, my name is Jean Arnold, and I'm the Vice President for Inclusion and Equity here at Grand Valley. And we are very happy to be able to come together this year for our second annual MLK, Martin Luther King Jr. commemorative breakfast, coming together as a university, simulcasting to Pew Campus, and preparing a recording to be sent to the regional campuses that they can use when they have students on their campuses. So we are together as one university this morning, commemorating a man who spent his life overcoming barriers, fighting barriers to inequality, and encouraging all of us to act in service to others and to create what he called a beloved community. So we have come together as a university. This is the first year we have had an MLK Executive Planning Committee chaired by, we're so fortunate to have had it chaired this year by Kathleen Underwood and Bobby Springer. And let me just mention that Bobby is so sorry that he can't be here with us this morning, but he's had some unexpected surgery, and he will join us periodically through the week as he is able, and as he has instruction from his doctor. But we thank Kathleen and Bobby for their leadership and for the huge committee that has spent countless hours, faculty, staff, and students, sometimes weekly, coming together to plan an expanded and enhanced series of programs that go from today until next Monday. So this is a first for Grand Valley, to not limit ourselves to the Monday holiday, but to take this all the way through the week. And Kathleen Underwood will tell you a little bit more about those programs when she closes out for us today. We continue also to look at how best to commemorate this holiday, and we do have, as I mentioned last year this time, we have a committee that is examining the question of whether or not the university should be open or closed or suspend business in a different way. We know that's a question that comes to us every year, and we are taking a serious look at that, doing some research on it, and hope by the end of this academic year to have some recommendations for all of us to consider and to have the senior management team consider. But this year we strengthened the academic focus. We've got internal presenters, external presenters, and we really envision a meaningful time to come together and reflect on a man who, this is the 25th year that we have had a national holiday recognizing Martin Luther King. So in this year of that 25th anniversary and our own 50th anniversary, we have really gone all out to create opportunities and venues for all of us to reflect on the importance of this occasion and the life of a man who only lived to age 39, but would have been 82 years old this year, and we are still being moved by his vision and his message. I think that's pretty powerful. So this morning, we thank you again for joining us. We will now have a student reflection by Kirsten Zeiter and a faculty reflection by Ayana Weekly. And then Kathleen will come up and close it out for us. So we encourage you to take a look at the papers on your table and join us for the variety of powerful academic and thoughtful experiences that we will have here as a community between now and next Monday. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. So, as a student who was involved with the Executive Planning Committee, we are so proud that we had many events this week aside from just the breakfast. Obviously, the breakfast is great, but we had a lot of things that we've been doing, and the one I'd like to talk to you most about was a day of service that we had on Saturday. So 45 students gathered to kick off the week to honor Dr. King and Ella Baker, who are both leaders in the civil rights movement. And we traveled to Compreneur Environmental, downtown Grand Rapids, and volunteered our time to help a nonprofit. Now, Compreneur basically takes any electronic waste, so computers, cell phones, microwaves, anything that has a plug, really, and disassembles it so that it can be recycled, refurbished, and resold, and it stays completely out of the environment free of waste. So not only is this good for environmental justice, but the money that they earn from selling old parts or refurbishing computers then goes to help foster education for youth worldwide about the importance of environmental justice. So it's a really great cause, and while we were there, we disassembled over 230 computers that otherwise would have polluted the environment. So many might be wondering, okay, that's great. You just assembled computers, but how is this really relevant for commemorating Dr. King? And I know it's hard to see at first glance, but if you think about it for a little while, it begins to become clear. Civic engagement was paramount for Dr. King, and he believed that in order to really see what kind of change you needed to work for in the community, you had to work hands-on in order to understand what had to be done. So he put it best when he said, "An individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity." And at Comprenew Saturday, I really felt that we were doing exactly that. We are provided with the knowledge and skills to know that there was so much waste in this facility that had to be taken care of, and that there has to be something done about what we're doing to the environment and what we can do to help foster education about these types of things. And now, as college students, we're all aware that it's really hard to do service. Obviously, we have homework, classes, clubs, hopefully some extra reading in there sometimes, and we need to get jobs and things like this. Where are we supposed to get time to do service? But the brilliant thing that I've learned about those who are involved and those who are brilliant leaders is that they're not mystical people. They're ordinary people like Dr. King and Ella Baker, who did extraordinary things. And that was a really important part of Ella Baker's philosophy, who we also commemorated with the Day of Service. And she believed that each person had the power to be a leader in their community, that you didn't have to be the biggest leader and in charge of 1 million people in order to make a difference. And that was the important lesson I think we took away from the Day of Service, the 45 of us who were there, and we had a waiting list, so there were many more students who wanted to be involved. And so all it takes is that small commitment to really make a big difference. And I think if we can continue to remember that and to reflect on that, then the legacy of these two great leaders will continue to live on in the work we do. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Ayana Weekly. I am a new faculty member in Women and Gender Studies here at Grand Valley. So this is my second semester, so I was very honored and excited when the committee asked me to share my personal reflections about what Martin Luther King means to me and what this day means to me. So again, what does Martin Luther King Jr. mean to me? And by extension, what does this day where we pause to reflect upon his life and work mean to me? These are the questions that we should all be reflecting upon as we meet to listen, discuss, and learn from the many speakers and activities planned for us this week. I'm going to briefly share with you some of my own thoughts and hope that in the coming days, weeks, months, and semesters, and years that we are all here at Grand Valley, that we can all share in a vision of what King's legacy means both for us and the world, while continuing to strive toward realizing that dream in its many facets. When I reflect upon the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., many contradictory ideas come to mind, including he was a visionary, a revolutionary, but also perhaps an accommodationist. He was a radical, and yet he was moderate. Perhaps he was sexist, yet in his later career, he espoused a much broader critique of social injustices, including poverty, war, and imperialism, which makes it not unreasonable to believe this would have led to a political stance that also included a critique of gender if his life had not been cut short. We must ask ourselves, what do we do with this complicated history, political work, and activism of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? How do we contextualize it, learn from it, and draw upon it to fuel the much-needed work that must continue? As a Black feminist who teaches about systemic and mutually constituting forms of oppression, including but surely not limited to or exclusive to racism, sexism, heterosexism, homophobia, poverty, and the many ways in which they express themselves in our daily lives and institutions, including marriage, welfare, healthcare, HIV/AIDS, prisons, schools, and labor, and of course the list could go on. The work of not only Martin Luther King, but also Ella Baker, Joanne Robinson, Marion Wright, Rosa Parks, and the many people, women and men, who fought and died for our rights are at the forefront of my thoughts, beliefs, and political praxis. Yet it is still often very difficult to put into words what they mean to me in my daily life. How do I live and embody the values of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? When we have come so far in the last 50 years, yet still have so far to go. When discrimination and hatred is increasingly nuanced and hidden, yet unrelenting. When on any given day, injustices make us angry, paralyze us, make us cynics, and ultimately blind us to what it is we are working for. It's a quote from Martin Luther King's final speech on April 3rd, 1968, in Memphis to a room of striking sanitation workers that expresses what I feel is at the heart of the work and legacies of the civil rights, Black power, and feminist movements of the 60s and 70s, and should remain at the heart of all social justice work. It's very simple, very direct, and very short. Quote, "We want to be free," end quote. Freedom from oppression and freedom to be our full selves in every sense of the word. Freedom from poverty and the freedom that having the right to a living wage would provide. Freedom from ignorance and the freedom to claim our educations. Freedom from hatred and the freedom to love. Freedom from, and I will let you fill in the blank. Freedom to, and again, I will let you fill in the blank. So what does this mean to me? It means that I will remind myself to learn from his work. I will be brave and follow the leaders before me in all of my own contradictions, shortcomings, and limited solutions. But I will strive for and aspire to that ultimate goal of freedom. This day reminds me that I want to be free and serves as an annual call to recommit myself to working toward that goal alongside those who are both similar to me and those who I share very little in common with, other than that they also want to be free. I hope you will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen, and thank you very much, Ayana. Boy, what a couple of acts to follow. It's not going to be easy. I think both of our remembrances from a student and from a faculty member really exemplify this year's theme of Shake the World. And that's something that's been a central focus for us over the past several months as we've put together this program. And I'd just like you to keep it in mind as we continue through the week. I'm Kathleen Underwood, Director of Women and Gender Studies Program and a professor in the History Department, and have served this over the past several months with Bobby Springer, who's Associate Director of the Office of Multicultural Affairs, to plan this week's events. I'd first like to thank Cisco Corporation for its generous support of this breakfast and give special thanks to Gary Austin and to George Powell. Their underwriting makes this fantastic breakfast possible, and I think we should all thank them for that. You know, events like this take many hands, and this year has been a true collaboration among students, staff, and faculty. Student Senate has been involved throughout, and Bobby and I would like to thank the members of the Planning Committee who, as Jean said, have met regularly since last July to design the various events to commemorate the life, work, and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Some are in this room, and some are down at the Pew campus, and I'd like each to stand or wave to be recognized. And as you can see, we have two members of the next generation of Shakers who will shake the world for us. I know one of them, and I know she definitely will. I'd also like to single out Linda Reddick of the Office of Multicultural Affairs, who has worked to keep us all on task, which is, if anybody's worked with me, you know that's not an easy thing to do. So we thank her. Linda? Thank you. Events like these also take financial support, and for that we thank Dr. Arnold and the Division of Inclusion and Equity, Connie Dang, and the Office of Multicultural Affairs, and Student Senate. So you have on your table sort of brief on white sheets of paper outlines of what's to come, and I just want to do a quick reminder of those. Today at noon, we meet in front of Zumberg Library for the Silent March. Our route this year is a little bit different, and we end up back in Kirchhoff Center. In fact, in this room, where we will see a brief segment of a video by Judy Richardson, who was a founding member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, helped write and edit Eyes on the Prize, and has now done a documentary about a massacre of students at Orangeburg, South Carolina in 1968. And we will look at parts of that, and she'll talk about filmmaking as a tool for education. Then on Wednesday at 5 p.m., Dr. Michael Eric Dyson will be on campus, and he will be speaking at the Louis Armstrong Theater with simulcast here in Grand River Room and also at Loosemore Auditorium. So if you have downtown classes, there's an opportunity to see him. The Shake the World Unity Choir will perform before Dr. Dyson's talk, and if anybody is still interested in participating in that choir, you can be in touch with me after this event, or Steve Lipnicki doesn't know this, but you can get in touch with Steve Lipnicki if you're downtown, and then we'll try to get everybody together. On Thursday, then we have 3 more events that will take place, all of them in Kirchhoff Center. On Thursday at 4 p.m., Dr. Stephen Rosales, a faculty member in history, will discuss his work on the GI Bill of Rights and Mexican Americans. On Friday, Student Senate is sponsoring an event called The Art of Reflection, Listen, Watch, and Dance at 4 p.m. And concluding our events a week from today, also in Kirchhoff, Professor Michelle Miller-Adams of GVSU's Political Science Department will discuss the Kalamazoo Promise and how best we can provide equality in education for all students. Okay, so Dr. King provided so many words to guide us, and you've had important quotes from all of the speakers today, and I'm gonna give you one of mine. And it seems particularly relevant today. And it is, quote, "It is no longer a choice between violence and nonviolence. It is a choice between nonviolence and non-existence." Thank you all for coming this morning, and I look forward to seeing you at several or some of the events over the next week.